I read Special Education, A Service Not a Sentence by Patrick A. Schwartz, and this article talked about the struggles of a student in the school system in which he was involved in and what he had went through as a special education student in a special ed program. In his particular system, they believed in the idea of inclusion, which is placing a special education student into a generalized classroom. This is what the author focused on throughout his article, thus meaning that this idea was his main idea. Then we look at the key question. The key question posed in this article is, why do people often see a student that is labeled special education infer that the student is deprived instead of actually seeing those students as receiving a service? Next, the author addresses important information. He includes the use of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or so-called IDEA, as evidence to say that special education students can be successful. This act says that special education services must provide the supports that will enable all learners to achieve success in the general curriculum whenever possible. The main conclusions that one can draw from this article is that not all special education students are the same. So why should school systems group them together in a secluded classroom only because they have the label learning disabled? Some key concepts throughout this article are that school systems should start following and taking key steps to include special education students in general classroom settings. Some main assumptions and implications. The author is assuming that all special education students would benefit from inclusion, but that wouldn't be the case for every single student. Including special ed students into general classrooms could lead to a reduction of student learning, not just for all the special ed students, but for all students throughout the classroom. This could have some major consequences. Failure to include these special education students, on the other hand, could result in less student knowledge growth in content as well as in the social setting as well. And upon reading the article, the main point of view is that the author is taking one example and using it to try and prove and justify that inclusion is beneficial. However, this does not prove that inclusion is exactly beneficial. He only provides one specific example that can prove inclusion to have overall positive results. I've previously done much research and found information on the subject. I have also seen firsthand the positives and negatives of inclusion into general classroom settings. The article does not include the good and bad of a particular student, but what you don't see is the good and bad that can come from other students. Not every student is the same. Therefore, one cannot assume by simply reading this singular article that all special ed students have been through the process of inclusion, will have a similar result, a positive result at that, as the same subject of Schwartz's article.